Hello, my name is Rachel, and I want to welcome you to Mums at the Table. Joining me today are some ladies who like, nice conversations and long walks on the beach. Isn't that right, Shona?
Oh, sure. Not.
I'll take a long walk on the beach.
I'll make sure to tell Gary about it. Well, we have Shona, we have the lovely Rachel, and Melody. You don't think you're lovely?
Oh,
that was a
no,
nice compliment.
thank you. So I moved on so quickly then, didn't I?
Yes.
Sorry, thank you.
Well, you know what? Coming up today, we're going to talk about whether money can boost your happiness, and we're interviewing Lisa Carey about her recent experience making the movie Trust. But I want to jump into something very important that has recently happened on the school scene. According to ABC News, primary public schools will enforce a mobile phone ban as part of the New South Wales government plan to reduce online bullying and unnecessary distraction. Ladies, I want to know if you think this is a decision that's long overdue, or do you think it's a bit of an overreach?
I think it's long overdue, and I think it's good specifically in primary schools especially. It is a distraction, and it has contributed to bullying, and I don't think young kids know how to use social media appropriately, so I think remove the device.
So why do you think it has contributed to bullying? Because I would just think bullying would be, what happens on the playground. Or...
What you say on social media behind your little screen is different to what you would say face-to-face to someone, I have noticed. I don't think you're as confident face-to-face all the time as you are behind a screen. I think it enables more bullying, and I think if it's one step to reduce it, because I don't think it will stop it, if it's a step to reduce it, I am for it.
And so are your kids on social media?
Not at all.
No.
They barely know what social media is.
Okay.
Sorry, helicopter parent.
It's not just social media though, because cyberbullying is not just just about the discussion on social media. Cyberbullying is such a big thing right now. I think even more so than what happens on the playground. And it's got to do with, it's text messaging, it's Snapchat stuff, it's Snapchat I guess is social media as well. But yeah, even that.
And I think you're right. It's the fact that they can't be seen, that they're being heard in a different forum, so they don't feel as though there's any consequences for these actions.
I think people feel protected behind it. And
Yeah.
schools can't monitor it as easily as they can in the playground. And yes, they miss stuff in the playground, I'm not saying that, but I think you can slip under that radar.
But do you think it's effective to be doing it at school? Because a lot of the things we're saying, people wouldn't say it face-to-face. Well, you're not going to be in math class, like texting or,
Well, if you're in high
media.
school, yes, you will be.
So that's the difference. In high school, this is an optional ban. Like, schools can opt in, and some schools already have. Do you think that it's something that should be implemented in the high school arena as well?
I'm not sure. I don't know what you girls think. They are getting older. They are getting mature. This is the digital age. This is becoming the norm. Do I want it to be normal for young kids? Not yet. It's an adult device.
Yeah, and I also wonder, we keep making things happen in school. When are parents going to step up and take that responsibility? I actually need to educate my children into social media. I actually need to watch what they're doing. I need to be educated into what social media is.
If they're buying the phone for the kids and if they're paying for that bill, they need to be on top of it. I know that sounds judgmental, and that probably is, but I take it seriously because I think bullying is a real damaging thing in our primary schools. I did notice the ACT said they weren't going to follow in the footsteps of New South Wales, and they do want phones in their schools, and they think they can use them effectively within the school using apps and whatever. So they're taking a different road.
I'm quite confused how a teacher, can actually manage a classroom already with, little kids, and then to add phones on top of it. And I'm not sure how it's, benefiting necessarily within that classroom setting. I can see before and after school when you're needing to think about that safety aspect of your child getting home. But they said that they'll keep the phones for the kids and then give them back to them. So I'm not exactly sure what that benefits.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes and what the reaction is.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about this again on the show. Well, what's next? Are we going to ban phones for adults? Some people might think that's a good idea. What do you think about banning phones in primary school? We'd love to hear from you. Hit us up on our social media and let us know. Now, if you're looking to get a bit more support in your parenting journey, we would love to invite you to our first ever parenting workshop. Our resident psychologist, Colette Smart, will go deep on the topic of building resilience in children. It will be held in Sydney on Tuesday, March 19th. So if you'd like more details and you want to buy tickets, please go to our website, mumsathetable.com. Now, I'm not sure about you, but oatmeal reminds me of my childhood. So let's join Gia and Olive in the kitchen as they teach us how to make a grain-free version of it at home. You can do this with or without your little ones.
Hi, we are making grain-free meal. It's a really easy and it's awesome for summer because if you've got like a little mini food processor of any sort, this is your go-to and it's so healthy. And all you need is just roughly chopped apple. Look, Greeks don't use, when they chop things, they just use their hands and the chopping board's just something we don't use. So just roughly chopped apple inside your, do you want to eat some, Momo? Oh, did you lick it? You wanted to lick some. Might as well eat it. And what else do we put in it? We put some slithered almonds. And do you want to put the dates in for me? Dates. Some dates. Some chia seeds for your omega-3s and good fats.
And some of this?
Yep, that's coconut. So that's just coconut flakes. Okay, so now all we have to do is process it just until it's all mixed together. So here it is. This is what the consistency looks like.
Can I put in this?
Yes, you can. I like to put a little bit of almond butter on top, and so Momo's gonna, yep, do you want to put it in? Put some almond butter on top. Put it on top. There you go. Oh, that's okay. Do you want to, I'll put it in like this, and then you can lick the spatula, because I know that's what you want to do. Some nut butter, you can lick the spatula. You can lick that if you like. And I just add a splash of, this is just soy milk. You could just use almond milk or whatever milk you like. Just a splash on the side and there you have it. Look at how good that looks. Enjoy.
You know, they say money can't buy happiness, but in a twist covered in this month's Mums at the Table magazine, we're learning that money can boost happiness. Tomato, tomato? I don't know. Melody, can you tell us what's going on here?
The interesting thing about this article is about saying that, you know, when you spend money, you can actually be happy. But the key point is who you're spending the money on. So she focuses a lot on the fact that it's about spending money on someone else and giving people. And so it could be charity, it could be a gift, but that actually, looking at people's reaction and stuff like that's what makes you happy.
I'm much happier when my husband spends money on me. So that works.
Yeah, I'm all with that one too. But yeah, I think you're right. I get buying or gift giving is my love language. So for me, buying and giving of gifts is my happiness. I'm in a happy place when I'm doing that. So I can totally relate to this.
So this idea of, it's not so much that, because I think that idea of money buying happiness is that, you know, the more stuff you have, the more experiences you create for yourself, the more wealth you have, the happier you are. So we're kind of just flipping that on its head. You still need money to do things for other people as well, but I guess it's just about where we're directioning that money or what?
Yeah, I don't think it's accumulating stuff is what she's talking about, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the whole focus on things, you know, like what you said, a lot of times we're thinking that if, you know, we go for a bit of retail therapy or the more stuff we have, the happier we will be. It's not that. It's about thinking about someone else and trying to make the other person. So it's about making the world a better place, really.
Yeah.
And no.
Well, I was just going to say a bit of a spoiler alert. I don't want to spoil it too much, but there were 6 principles that were mentioned in the articles. Yes, spending on others instead of yourself, which we've mentioned here. Experiences instead of things. So I know a lot of parents I've been seeing, they talk about buying their kids, you know, some type of experience instead of a gift. Many small things instead of one large thing. Matching your personality.
Loved that bit.
What is that all about, matching your personality?
I loved it because they sort of based it on a study as well. I know it was a small study that they'd done, but they based it on, you know, giving money to people and saying, okay, you know, go to the pub and spend money there, or go and buy a book to an introvert. So you've got your extrovert, your introvert, and the happiness that came back to each of them that was sort of matching who their personality was. And I really liked that because I would be the person to go down to the pub and spend it, you know, well, not the actual pub, but, you know, spend it with people, spend it on experience.
So like go out to a
meeting my
restaurant
extroversional needs. Yeah.
The one that I loved was buying time, because they were saying, like, you know, hire a cleaner to give yourself time back, or hire, you know, a nanny or something like that. So I think that that's great, because we can't.
That does buy you happiness, because you can then spend the time with your kids or your husband or your family, you know, extended family or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I kind of love this. That was the one that I identified with the most. So I don't know about you, but I know a housekeeper, a nanny, and a cook sure would make me happy. So maybe the research is right. What do you think? Can money buy or even boost happiness? Why don't you jump on our social media and let us know what you think? We know one thing's for sure: we can't buy good health, but we can do things to invest in it. So let's find out what plants pack a punch of protein in our nutrition segment.
Hi and welcome Trish.
Hi, Gia.
We're here with Trish from Sanitarium, dietitian from Sanitarium, but also our resident dietitian here at the table. And we're going to talk about a hot topic today, actually, protein. We hear a lot about it. And I just wanted to ask, you know, can you get enough protein eating plants?
Absolutely. Well, most people, even people who do eat meat or don't eat meat, are getting more protein than what they actually need. But lots of studies have shown that you can get enough protein if you move to a vegetarian diet. Kids, adults, older people can all get enough, with good planning, enough protein from a vegetarian diet.
Okay, and is there benefits? So say I eat more plant-based. Is there benefits for people that do eat more plant-based? Is there benefits eating plant proteins rather than meat protein?
Definitely, definitely. The World Cancer Research Fund recently came out and reinforced their advice to encourage people to limit the amount of red meat that they eat. And actually we're advising people to pretty much avoid processed meats except for, you know, a special occasion. So things like your sausages and your salamis and things like that are thought to be particularly harmful.
Yes.
And that's based on huge studies that have shown that people who do eat the most red and processed meats are more likely to develop conditions like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, as well as some cancers.
Wow.
Yeah. But the good thing is you can switch to plant protein foods and still get the protein, as well as the key nutrients like iron and zinc, without getting a lot of those negatives associated with meat, like saturated fat and cholesterol.
Yes, so you're getting the good stuff, still getting the protein, but not the bad stuff.
That's right. And plus plant
Healthy heart.
protein foods give you a lot of things that meat doesn't have, things like fibre and antioxidants as well.
Yes, that help in the other areas.
Yes.
Okay, so what sort of foods would you be looking at that do have high protein, I guess, in plants as well?
Well, legumes, they really are the hero plant food for protein.
Yeah, nice.
So, you know, your canned peas and beans are just so convenient and easy to use. You can just start by replacing some of the meat in dishes that you cook for your family with some canned peas or beans or red lentils. They're one of my staples. So a spaghetti bolognese, start by replacing half the meat, say, with some lentils or some other beans that your
good
family
idea.
likes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Tofu and edamame are other great.
I love edamame. I can eat those all day.
Such a fun food to eat. And soy foods, particularly the protein in soy, is really nutritious from the soybean. Okay. But nuts as well are excellent ways to get protein.
And what about combining? Because I used to hear about combining, combining proteins.
Yeah. Thankfully, we now know that you don't need to worry about, say, combining nuts with a grain food at a meal to make sure you're getting enough of the different protein types. We know that as long as you eat enough food over the day and eat a variety of food, so you're getting your plant protein from all these different kinds of food groups, your protein needs are more than covered.
More than met, okay. And also I was interested to find out that soy milk is actually got as much protein as what cow's milk, or close to it. Yeah.
So dairy products are great for protein as well, particularly yogurt and milk. But if you don't want to have dairy or you're cutting back on dairy, soy milk is one of the best options to replace it with.
Oh, thank you, Trish. I really appreciate you coming today. Thank you for coming. And I love hearing about all this stuff because it helps me as a mum as well, what I'm going to give my children and healthier options. So there are your healthier options. Thank you again for coming. Please follow us if you can. Sanitarium website has some great recipes. We've got some great recipes as well. Combined, you won't miss out on anything. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
What do you do when life hits you with its hardest punch, when everything seems to be going against you? Joining us today is filmmaker, mother, and wife Lisa Carey, who recently launched a film called Trust, which is a modern-day tale of the biblical story of Job. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'd love to hear what inspired you to create this movie, Trust, especially with a name like Trust. It has so much just built into it. It makes us very curious.
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey for my husband and I, just in making a film. It took us 7 years to conceive a child, and so in that time, we had to kind of go through a lot of things, which actually brought us about, we concepted this storyline, also seeing marriages falling apart. We concepted this storyline to encourage people, and I guess the reason why we started making films was just basically because we wanted to see better content out there.
Well, because I'm now curious, and I'm sure our viewers are curious, let's take a look at the trailer for Trust, and then we'll jump back in and have a chat about it.
Great.
In 2013, my wife discovered a lump on her chest. 6 months later, she was gone. I was mad at God. I was angry at the world. I was angry at those couples whose wives didn't die, who had families, whereas I had nothing. And I reached a crossroad in my life where I realised I had to choose. I could keep going that way, or I could change direction. I realised that I had to look for the small good things in my life. I had to dig deep from inside my pain to find them.
I hate you! Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, everyone suffers in this life, and some people more than others. But that's life. That's what makes life what it is. And even in that pain, there are good moments. And if you let them slip by, then you're letting life slip by. You need to learn to thank God. Because this, yeah, even this, is part of the plan.
What are you doing? Saving my marriage.
Come on, one more step, come on. And another one. And another one.
Run! Run!
You know, this idea of, as I was watching, I was so engrossed in it, this idea of challenge and all of the, challenges that life brings, it's universal. How closely does it tie into your story?
Yeah, well, I think that's really why we chose the story of Job, because it is so relatable to everybody. And as I was just saying before, that, our journey of believing for children, and it was a 7-year battle and failed IVF. So that's a lot of what we had to go through, and also personal struggles, just walking through depression as well. Yeah.
And how is it that you were able to channel everything you're feeling? Because we all go through challenges and everyone reacts to them differently. How are you able to channel that, not just in a creative sense, but to feel like you had hope outside of the whole situation that was going on?
Do you mean within the film, or as an actor, or
just you personally, and then, expressing that then through your film?
Yeah, so I think sometimes we look at challenges as, well, they are challenges, but as a negative, but actually they actually bring good things into our life. And for us, the journey of children, we could have sat around doing nothing and saying, oh, poor me, but instead we chose to do something with our life and give back and create meaning for our life. And in making a film, we're giving something back, but also by having that struggle actually enabled us to go through the struggle of making a film.
Yeah, I don't think we kind of realize that creative struggle that happens as well. So how did you get into film in the first place?
Well, it's probably I've been an actor for a while, and my husband is a producer and a director of photography. And so we actually started just by making short films, and which led us to making the feature film, because that's where we wanted to go. Yeah.
Do you find that there's, in the industry, many films out there with positive messages, or are you finding this is like an empty space and almost a clean canvas sort of thing?
Yeah, well, there are a few good films out there, mostly coming out of America. But as for faith-based films, there's not many actually coming out, and good quality. And I see there's lacking in quality. And I think overall, I think we as a couple are discouraged with what's on content these days on both TV and media, and how that's filling our minds and whittling away at our conscience without even realising, and our morals and our values.
So for people who are not familiar with the story of Job, right, and hence your movie, what is that element of hope that you're bringing through the movie?
Well, it's really kind of got some teaching tools of how to get through that, and trying to reveal that without revealing the whole storyline is kind of complicating. So I'd really encourage you to watch the movie. But yeah, I guess life is a journey, and I think it's the way you look at life. It really is about your perspective. And for us, through our difficulties, we had to change our perspective, and that's really the key. I think it's all the way you look at your problems, and developing a resilience to push through the difficult times.
Or was that something that you had to do with your IVF journey as well, that you had to change that perspective?
I think for me, it was pretty much just keeping my eyes on God and His promise for me, because even when the doctors said to me that you're going to have to get a donor egg, that was the word from the doctor. I just kept going back to the word of God, which said that, none shall miscarriage and none shall be barren, and just keep standing on that word. And as my relationship developed with God, and He spoke to me through His word, and that's how I could hear His voice. And Him finally saying to me after the last time, because I was like, well, what now, God? What's going to happen now? And He said, my word will not return to me void. That's a scripture, without accomplishing what it needs to do. So He's spoken His word, and a lot of things with that journey was speaking that word over my body and over my womb, and but keeping in faith. But also there was a praise element of thanking God for what He was going to do in my life, and believing that He was going to do it before I could even see it happening. Because sometimes we get stuck in our life and we can't see a way through. But if you can start praising God in that and thanking Him, it will actually create a joy, and it'll lift up your faith when you don't have faith.
Lisa, I'm wondering, like, within the faith community or within these inspirational films, sometimes we think about creating content for Christians, but within the broader scheme of, everyone watching films, how do you think that this film, can speak to a wider audience of people who maybe aren't, necessarily having faith at the moment, They don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, we sort of never really just wanted to make just purely faith-based films, but I think this story in particular relates to everybody, because everyone goes through hard times, and a lot of things that we watch don't actually give any answers to how to get through life. So I think that this is a good film, and it's not over the top, I guess, Christian or churchy. It comes in a very relatable manner, and we've seen that just from feedback that we've been given from our community, that we know that aren't Christians or believers. Yeah,
they just have this sense of hope. I guess that's kind of universal. Like, everybody's looking for this sense of hope.
Yes, that's right. And how do we get through these hard times? How do we push through them? Yeah.
It's so relatable, because we all have a point in our life where we have said, why is this happening to me?
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's the real connector with your
Absolutely.
film.
Yeah, definitely.
And why did you choose the story of Job in particular? I know it has all of the challenges, but as Melody was saying, there's so many people, we've been referencing Job back and forth, but so many people probably wouldn't even be familiar with that story.
Yeah, well, it really is because it was a relatable story, that it's about a guy who loses his family and all these different things. So it was a really natural, easy story to write off. And we started filmmaking by actually just taking Bible stories and making them in a modern day version, in a way that's understandable and relatable to our culture. So that's really what we wanted to do, to actually make people aware of the story that's in there, because it actually, even though it's a full-on story, it carries a message of hope. And so that is now in a film and a visual manner.
Yeah. So this is definitely a story of hope. I just want to pivot a little bit and talk about, because there's probably moms who are watching who are going through this journey of IVF, or who are going through this challenge of infertility, and your journey was 7 years. And I'm sure their moms would be deeply encouraged by the experience that you've had. What were some of those, feelings that you had in those beginning stages? Because you talk so much about being able to praise God and being able to continue to see, light on the other side, but so many moms are maybe not there yet. Is there anything you can do to speak into that situation?
Yeah, it is such a tough journey, and everybody's journey is different. And I guess I encourage people to really just be spending time with God, and be listening to what is right for you at that time. And God has a season and a timing. And I was very much aware of that even when I was in my journey. And that even though it seemed it wasn't going to happen, and it was a long journey, and it was a lonely journey too. So
why do you say it was lonely?
It was lonely because everybody else my age was having children. And so
you have to be happy for them and go to
yeah,
baby showers.
Absolutely. And I did. And I chose that I was going to be different, in that I wasn't going to get bitter. And I was going to be happy every time a friend had a child or another baby shower or another baby shower. Oh, another baby shower, you know, because that's what it's like. Yeah. And I chose that no matter what happens. And I also decided that I didn't want it to become more important than God and my relationship with God. I didn't want to want it more than that. And in it, I think He gives you the tools. And one of the tools for me was seeing it differently, because in that time, what was developed to me was a faith, and that faith then enabled us to make a feature film. And because there were trials and journeys in that, and it gives you resilience to push through. Not only that, we started becoming creative. And I remember the year before I fell pregnant, I said to God, I just want to know why. And I looked at what I'd done that year. He just told me to write down everything that I'd done. And at that year, that was the year we made almost 12 short films. And I wrote some, I directed some, I acted in some, and it was just incredible. And I was like, well, look what I accomplished anyway. But yeah, I just, in of all to just keep believing and keep speaking the word over your body, because the word of God has power. God spoke and He created the world. That is truth. So if you keep speaking that over your body and keep believing and try and visualize yourself with that baby in your arms and praise Him for it. And
So if we want to have a look at trust,
yep.
Where do we go? Where do we find it?
You can find it through our website, which is www.trustthefilm.com, and you can buy a copy from there. It will be coming out as a digital download through means of iTunes, and I know Kurong will be releasing it this year, so that's another possible way. Yeah.
And not just going back to the good news, is you have 2 children now.
Yeah, we have 2 children.
Get there.
Yes. I've got 2 children, and Marvel and Dare are their names. Marvel, because we got this verse that we would marvel at what God has done, how marvelous are your works, O God. Yeah, so yeah, excitingly,
and
we do have children. And Dare, well, that's another story. But it's for God is able to do super abundantly above what you could dare to ask or imagine. And that's exactly what Dare is, and that's the story of our journey.
Well, they definitely have life already spoken into them.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to have an amazing journey too.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited that you were able to join us to talk about your film, to talk about your creative pursuits, as well as to talk about your kids. And, I've been inspired just by everything that you've been talking about here today. So, after today's show, I feel happy and inspired to face life's challenges. And I hope that you've loved spending this time together as much as we have loved spending this time with you. We've loved, being here with you on the show and being here with the ladies as well. And I can't wait until next time. So if you'd like to hear more from the ladies and you would like to know more about other episodes that we have, you can visit us on our YouTube account, or you can see us on our website, mumsathetable.com. Our Facebook page is facebook.com, mumsathetable.com, or you can find us on Insta at mumsathetable. Take care, and God bless. Can't wait to see you till next time.